The duel in Revenge of the Sith between Mace Windu and Palpatine has been debated over for years as to who really won the fight, and if Palpatine actually threw the fight at the end in an attempt to appeal to Anakin. This lightsaber duel is possibly the most complex one to analyze, as a lot of the circumstances are not as clear as other lightsaber duels. Examples being, we know Obi-Wan was able to defeat Anakin on Mustafar due to familiarity with his opponent, and guiding the duel to a location of his choosing, where he eventually held the advantage, in a sense, outthinking his opponent. Or another example being Vader dueling Luke on the second Death Star, where Vader's inner love for his child held him back, and Luke was not only able to defeat him in the duel, but also appeal to the light that still remained within him. The duel between Mace Windu and Sidious is much different than this. The Revenge of the Sith novelization definitely gives us the clearest picture of the true events behind the duel, but even then, the flaw is that it is only from one perspective, that being Mace, and gives us a minimal insight into Palpatine. There are two very distinct different answers to the outcome of this duel, and we will get into both of them. One suggests Mace Windu actually defeated Palpatine, and the other suggests Palpatine allowed Mace to overtake him. To understand this, we must fully understand Mace, and what allowed him to keep pace with quite possibly the most powerful Sith Lord of all time. Mace Windu created and refined a variant of Form 7 lightsaber combat. Form 7 lightsaber combat is a form forbidden throughout the Jedi Order, as it relies fully on enjoyment of a fight, and in many cases anger and fear to fuel its power and aggression. Mace Windu believed, however, that he held enough control over himself and the Force that he may be able to utilize something similar to this. What resulted was a form known as Vapad. Mace Windu was in fact the only known individual capable of using such a complex and risky form, and it was still only successfully implemented into battle a single time. That single time being the duel in the Chancellor's office between the Sith Lord known as Darth Sidious and Master Jedi Mace Windu. What allowed Mace to use such an inherently dark art and form was that he allowed darkness to run through his body and fuel his blade and fighting, while not allowing it to grab a hold of him and consume him fully. In theory, the only reason Mace was able to achieve success with Vapad in his duel with Palpatine was because he for the first time encountered an opponent made so purely out of hate and darkness that it successfully implemented the form. What Vapad does is use an opponent's power and darkness against themselves. It creates a loop of power that circles, and as long as power is funneled into that loop, it continues to move. Since Palpatine essentially contained limitless power and hatred, the loop continued through Mace to the point where he could keep up with Palpatine when so few others could not. A different example is in Palpatine's duel with Yoda. It was not the Sith's own power competing against itself, but the pureness of the light within Yoda combating the corrupted darkness within Sidious. As said earlier, the duel in the novel is mostly through Mace's perspective, but we do get some of a glimpse into Palpatine. In the duel, both Mace and Palpatine sense when it is coming to an end, and Mace for a moment senses fear within Palpatine and follows it to its core, eventually finding it and disarming Palpatine. At that moment, Anakin too felt the fear within Palpatine as Mace loomed over him. An important thing to note is that in the novelization, Palpatine sensed the Jedi long before they entered his office, and even felt their footsteps. That was clearly placed in the book to inform us Palpatine likely sensed the presence of Anakin long before Mace Windu did. Once Palpatine was seemingly defeated, Mace raises his blade to kill him and is betrayed by Anakin. In that moment, Mace sees the truth as the fear he felt within Palpatine disappears and the harsh reality sets in. There was never any fear in Palpatine to begin with. Palpatine placed a false shatter point to allow Mace, and as an extension Anakin, to believe he truly defeated him and was terrified of the Jedi Master. So to answer one of the two big questions involved with the duel, yes, Palpatine absolutely threw it at the end to appeal to Anakin, and allowed him to trick Anakin into cementing himself within the dark. Now this leads us to the other and possibly more important question. What if Palpatine never purposefully broke off the fight, and the two were forced to duel to the death on equal ground? Well, here we don't have as clear of an answer. As long as Mace Windu retained the use of Vapad, the fight would continue, as Palpatine contained near limitless hate, and he would not be able to overcome Mace, as every time he pushed an advance and his darkness increased, he would receive the exact same back. However, over the course of the duel, Palpatine did successfully knock Mace Windu out of Vapad a single time. This suggests it could happen again, as if even for a moment if Mace were to slip, it would mean the end for him. Another very important thing to remember about this duel is Mace did not achieve Vapad instantaneously and had to work up to it. Palpatine killed all the other Jedi so quickly it took Mace a few seconds to process it. Palpatine selected Mace to be the Jedi he would use to sway Anakin, but he never expected the fight he would be in for. In the official biography for Palpatine, it says this concerning the Jedi. Before the Jedi could react, Palpatine sprang into action and killed all of them except Mace Windu. This suggests he had time to kill them all, and none were fast enough to react, but in fact that he killed all but Mace by choice. This piece comes from the official visual dictionary, which again goes to suggest the same thing. Before Mace realizes what has happened, Kolar, Tin, and Fisto have fallen to Sidious's blade. This all goes to illustrate the same thing. Palpatine was simply too quick and could have cut down Mace in the early moments of the confrontation, but he allowed Mace to achieve Vapad, and thus, for maybe the first time ever, created an equal adversary. The thing that I love so much about the final moments of this duel is that Palpatine puts it all on Anakin's decision, and he truly threw the fight and was beaten by Mace. So to answer the question definitively, yes, Mace Windu really did beat Palpatine, but only because he let him. It's certainly not the conventional way of throwing a fight, which would suggest he had the upper hand, but the two were on equal ground and the only foreseeable way to end the conflict was for one to give up. I really love the realization Mace has moments before he is blasted out of the office, that Palpatine never really feared him, and that this was a trick and betrayal meant to end him. So tell me what you think. I actually really respect this duel and think it's very complex, and it has two of the greatest warriors within Star Wars going at it, and the way it ended was very unconventional as opposed to just having one overpowering the other. Are there any other duels you would like me to explain and break down? If so, leave them below and I might do them. If you have any other lore topics or questions you want answered, do not hesitate to tweet them at me at StupendousWave on Twitter, or leave a comment below and I will try my best to answer or make a full video dedicated to your topic. Thanks again so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.